Howdy folks, it's officially the weekend and I wanted to get it started with you. A couple of times you all have asked me what I thought about Flaviar, and at the time I hadn't tried it, but now that I have tried it, I want to tell you exactly what I think about it. Start off with, I'm going to pop my first full bottle that I've gotten from them, and then we'll walk through what I thought about the tastings. Let's see if we can get a good pop. Perfect pop. I know some people don't like Jameson, but I'll be honest, even though I'm a classy lady and I love specialty whiskey, I actually will sip regular old Jameson on the rocks if that's all I have at the time, or I'm just looking for a affordable, easy sip. And I actually had never tried this Black Barrel, even though I had heard a lot about it. So this is what I picked for my first bottle full bottle that I had them ship me. In my area, it retails for about 40 bucks. I didn't have to pay that 40 bucks, obviously, because it's a part of the membership. But to give you an idea of the price range of the bottles that they offered me. I actually don't know if I picked the most expensive whiskey bottle that they have, but I think it's going to be between like that $40 and $60 range for your free bottle option. Damn good, just as I suspected. All right, so the first thing that really struck me when I got these was like the presentation. So as you can see, I guess because like we send samples to each other as whiskey lovers, like and friends, I wasn't expecting this like nice packaging that it came in. And as you can see, it twists off. And then the vials are actually bigger than I expected. Side note, most of these are going to be empty because I drank all of them before I made these videos. But the Japanese whiskey still has a little bit in it because I haven't finished these yet, but the scotch is gone. But yes, so you unscrew your containers, and then you'll have your 3 vials there. They're about 1.5 ounces of each libation. And then at the top, you can see these little tabs. You can pull those. And I believe this is like a coaster. I think this could like double as a coaster. It says like Flaviar on it. And then you have another little tab. It'll tell you what tasting it is that you selected from the site. Because basically when you go to the site, you don't have to only pick whiskey. They have a lot of different types of liquors, but obviously you're going to pick whiskey, right? Because that's the best option. So I only did whiskey options so far, and this one is called The Secret Flavors of Japan. And it'll kind of have like a little bit of a description. They really try to lean into giving the personality or some personality to these descriptions. So this one starts off, dive deeper into the rich world of Nippon whiskeys. I should have looked up that word before I started reading this. I didn't even remember. I think it's Nippon though. So it says the Japanese booze landscape is teeming with extravagantly different, under the radar, rare and straight up bonkers spirits. A sake-like whiskey from ex-brandy casks made from rice that had koi carp police its weeds. A Scotland-born spirit from ex-sherry barrels whose water was filtered through a goddamn volcano, or a ridiculously rare no-age statement gem from a mythical place. It sounds like we're making this up, but these are real spirits, and they jubilate the Japanese ingenuity and imagination. So right off that, as soon as I read that, I was like, ooh, excited as hell. Like, filtered through a volcano. I love volcanoes. And in this one, I'm 3 cards short, but only because Flaviar allows you to actually do a blind tasting. So when you first receive these vials, they will only have the letters on them. They will not have actually what whiskey it is. Let's see, one of these bad boys. Yeah, like this one. It'll basically be like this, except for with whiskey in it, of course, with just a letter on it, and then kind of like a very vague description, like Scotch from Scotland. I guess that's a little redundant because all Scotch has to come from Scotland, but that's what it says. But then basically, if you don't want to do the blind tasting, I've done both. It can be kind of fun. You can then peel it off and then actually label each one, matching it with the card. So then going forward, you know exactly which whiskey is in this vial. And so in this Japanese whiskey sample set, we have, actually I think I should read it off here. We have Ohishi port cask whiskey. We have the Shinobu blended Japanese whiskey, and we have the, I forgot, how was it? It's Kuryoshi 8-year Japanese whiskey, pure malt. And yeah, so then you can kind of obviously sample through these and enjoy them. But the thing about this is I was trying to decide, like, okay, do I think this is worth it or not? So to start out with, you can do $95 for a quarter of a year, or you can pay $300 for the full year and you get these samples. I think for the 95 for the quarter, you get one tasting box and one full bottle every 3 months. But then for the full year, if you were to do that, you get 9 additional whiskey samples, which is pretty nice. But when I first started exploring this, I thought that it was only the tastings. And to me, that obviously seems like very steep. And so I was like, oh, I'm not really sure. But then a lot more actually comes with this outside of the tastings that I've recently discovered over the past couple of months. So I thought that this was just regular whiskey that you can find anywhere, but they have exclusive private bottles. Part of your membership, you get free distillery tours and events, exclusive events only through them. And their members are very much into alcohol in general, not just whiskey, but they have where their members can give reviews. And because they're so passionate about the liquor, they actually write quite lengthy reviews that can give you a lot of insight into maybe a whiskey that you haven't tasted and you're rather curious about. And something I've also never seen is engraving bottles. So if you were to give somebody a gift, you can also buy bottles from their site outside of their membership service, bottle that they're going to send you as part of your membership. But say, for instance, you have a friend that has a birthday coming up, you could buy them a bottle and then you could, engrave it, which I kind of think is cool. I've never seen that in a regular liquor store or anything like that, but it could be out there. Maybe I just haven't seen it yet, but I like that. They also have like their own articles. They have their own cocktail recipe. They have interviews with experts. And as I mentioned, you can buy bottles from their shop. So it's a lot more that goes into this. Because of COVID, obviously you can't take advantage of those free distillery tours. To make up for that, they're doing live events virtually. And I know some people are into that, or if you're like me, you may not really be into that. So you're not able to get as much money from much bang for your buck, unfortunately, but I'm sure they'll be bringing that back as soon as they can. And I also forgot to mention, in addition to the United States, they're also in Europe. And I think the thing that I have loved most about this is like, one, being able to share it with my loved ones. So the first couple of tastings, what I did is I hadn't seen a friend in a while. They're a whiskey lover, went over there and we just sampled both Scotch boxes. I just kind of talked about it, and it's enough of a sample that, 2 people can get a decent sample out of each and like really just enjoy some time together, especially as some people may not want to go to bars and stuff like that with COVID. And so you can kind of like bring whiskey sampling home and not have to buy an entire bottle. Because sometimes I have bought a bottle and I wish I hadn't, but this allows me to sample it and kind of see what we're working with. And so leaning even more into that love of whiskey, the videos that they have actually allow me to have, additional whiskey expertise that I wouldn't have unless I had done the groundwork myself. So I like the idea of sitting back and being able to watch videos that somebody else took the labor to do, and just like ingesting the information and like little tidbits, like I enjoy learning. Like I didn't know rice whiskey was a thing in Japan, Japanese whiskey. And so yeah, while I'm trying to debate if I would want to keep this long term, it may not be something that I keep incredibly long term, but I definitely want to keep it going for now. Where I see this coming in for myself is potentially gifting this to somebody, or either because their bottles and their tastings are always revolving, I could like maybe cancel it for a little bit and start it back up. I will say for their store, keep in mind that they are a business. So I was able to find some whiskey bottles that I couldn't find in my area, and they weren't as expensive as some other stores were trying to charge. But there were other bottles that I think they know that some people would be willing to pay extreme amounts for. And so they charged it accordingly. I think the Elijah Craig 18 was pretty expensive. And of course, like the Weller 12 and whatnot. So I'm not sure I would necessarily buy those bottles from there. But I know there are people out there that don't mind paying those high prices. So if you're one of them, you might be kind of into that. But on the flip side, not every bottle that they list will be overpriced like that. Again, it's what I've seen is more so those specialty bottles, but like more run-of-the-mill bottles you may be able to find at slightly cheaper prices than you can find at your liquor store, depending on what area you live in. So I'll be checking back there and seeing what they end up having to work with. I almost forgot to say like my favorite part. Okay. So yeah, that aside, In addition to being able to label the bottles after you decide, or after you finish your blind tasting, or if you decide that you don't want to do it, I really enjoyed these graphics that they had for each whiskey. And so like every whiskey that they give you, they give you a picture of the bottle, and then they give you all of the taste profiles. And like if the taste is supposed to be stronger, the image is bigger, and the image just looked like very fun, very vivid, and like an orange zest, like they have like a hand squeezing the orange, and it just seems very fun. And so I very much enjoyed that. I will say, well, I did the blind tasting for the Japanese whiskey, and my palate is not as refined as I thought it was. I think I got, oh, maybe I didn't do too bad. I think I got two right. No, I can't remember how I messed it up, but I missed at least one. But neither here nor there. It was something that me and my boyfriend did this past weekend, and it was actually fun. Even though we both got answers wrong, it was kind of something to try, and maybe the more that we did it, the more we would be able to refine our palate. Yeah, and so that's my general thoughts on Flaviar. And oh, I forgot to tell you the other two I got. So I got the peated, so that was all peated scotches, and the Kilchoman Whiskey Flight. I should tell you which were in each to give you an idea of what types of whiskey were in each. So in the Kilchoman, I should have looked these up again. I think it's Snag, and then the Port Escaig. I looked those up the other day, and I meant to look them up again. Sorry. Make sure I get the pronunciations right. And I actually switched up my cards. Let's see. And then the third Kilchoman was the U.S. Small Batch Limited Edition. That was actually one of my favorites, and that was another one that you probably wouldn't be able to get. Well, I guess it was like, I don't know if it was specific to Flaviar, but that was another one that may be kind of hard to find. Okay, I mixed them up again. This is the only thing about the cards. And then, and then the peated, it was, okay, here we go. We had the Kilchoman Snag again. We had the Compass Box, the Peat Monster, another delicious one. And we had the Kilchoman Makirbe. So a little bit of overlap with the Snag and whatnot. But overall, I enjoyed every whiskey that I tasted. There were some, obviously, that I liked more than another. But especially the Kilchoman, they were ones that I had been wanting to try but hadn't like officially picked up. So yeah, if you're looking for a little bit of adventure, trying to try something you haven't tried in a while or ever, I'd recommend giving it a whirl, even if it's only for a couple of months, or potentially gifting it to a loved one, especially with the supply chain issues we're having right now. The ability to give somebody something that you don't have to have like manufactured is actually kind of nice, and their shipping is really freaking fast. Usually when I order something, I get it within 2 to 3 days. I live in the Washington, D.C. area, so maybe the shipping's a little bit faster there, but I was pretty impressed by that. And yeah, that's it. I hope the rest of your weekend goes well, and as always, cheers, folks.